Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Ron Amlin from SBM St. Louis, and we are honored to have with us today Josh Frank. And Josh is the founder and managing partner of RSM Federal, and he's also an award-winning business coach for government sales and professional speaking. And he's also a professional speaker. And I have to say, he is a best-selling author as well. And in fact, one of his books, which is called An Insider's Guide to Winning Government Contracts, I've spoke with several of our readers who've actually purchased that book, read it, and it really impacted their strategy when it came to winning government contracts. So he's been all over the country helping businesses gain these contracts. And welcome, Josh, and thanks for coming and visiting with us today.
I appreciate it, Ron. I've enjoyed working with you and your team for a good number of years, and I appreciate the invite today.
Great. Well, first off, tell us about your background. Tell us about RSM Federal and how you guys are helping businesses grow.
Absolutely. So I'm a former military intelligence officer, and after the military, worked for various companies that included 8As, the minority, socially disadvantaged, woman-owned. In Fortune 500, I managed the Department of Defense for MasterCard Worldwide, the credit card folks up in DC. And I've been in public sector more than 30 years. And I specialize in tactics and strategies that companies need to win government contracts. As you indicated, I'm the managing partner for RSM Federal here in St. Louis, Missouri. Started the company in 2008. We work with companies in general from startup to around 300 million in revenue. Specialize in tactics and strategies to shorten sales cycle, improve market position, accelerate revenue, etc. Today, our company, we coach around 20 companies right now. And for companies, Ron, that want to, that want to start slow maybe and dip their toes, we have an online education portal called Federal Access with step-by-step strategies and templates and other resources. We got about 800 companies, I guess, that are currently registered members. And then I guess finally, from a company perspective, over the last 10 years, our clients have won more than 2.8 billion in contracts, and 95% of those are small business.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So you're here with us today to talk about how to differentiate our companies and how to market and communicate our true value. And I know that this is one of your most sought after presentations that you give around the country. Talk to me about some strategies owners can use and think about when they're looking to brand themselves and their companies.
Yeah, excuse me. What I'll do, I'm going to touch on three strategies. First, none of this happens overnight, right? None of it happens overnight. But when you think of your brand, excuse me, when you think of your brand, you need to be thinking about what's the value that you provide to your customers. Because at the end of the day, that is your brand, right? There's really three brands around. You brand yourself, then you brand your products and services, and then you brand your company, right? Well, all of that has to deal with, are you providing value? And so what that means is if I ask, hey, Ron, what do you do, right? Don't simply tell me what you sell, right? That's many entrepreneurs, small businesses, they think, well, that's how I'm supposed to respond. But guess what? There's 100 companies that sell what you sell. And if you're not communicating your value, then you're not going to make sales. It's really that simple. It doesn't matter how good or how strong your products or services are. And by the way, your brand is simply a perception. It's nothing more, right? If you can't communicate the value your products and services provide, well, that's the number one reason that companies have difficulty making their sales numbers. So the first strategy is to stop talking about what you sell, right? and talking about the value that you provide. And of course, people are going, all right, well, what does that mean? So it means if I look at your website, if I look at your marketing collateral, your bids, your proposals, I should see numbers, metrics, percentages, right? Not simply what you sell. Second strategy, recognizing that your small business certifications are not a crutch. You're never going to win a contract because you're a small business or you're woman owned or you're minority or veteran or HubZone or any of the socioeconomics, right? So now this goes against common market guidance, but I'm telling you right now, don't focus on your size or your status. So Ron, let me give you a couple of examples. How many times have you seen a business card where it's got the corporate logo on one side and on the other side of the card, there's a woman-owned small business logo or a other certification, right? Exact same size as the corporate logo, right? Well, here's the problem. Totally forget what the government's telling you or even commercial America, right? Oh, well, gee, they have to buy from you. Well, guess what? All you're doing is telling me is that the value of your company is your status. You have to think of it from a business perspective, not just a commercial or government sales perspective. If I look at the website, Ron, if I look at your website and you've got all those, hey, we're woman owned and veteran, and you've got all these statuses and certifications at the top of your website, you're telling me you believe your certifications are more important. You're branding your company as being small and woman owned versus the actual value you provide to your clients. The third strategy is what I call competency mapping. And let's say, let's pick an industry. Say you're a technology company, right? You're responsible. You have a contract. You've won a contract, and you're responsible for designing and installing a wireless network for St. John's Mercy Hospital. Okay, so for those of us that are here in St. Louis, we all know who Mercy is, right? If I ask a company that has that contract, hey, what's the value of what you guys did? Hey, Josh, it was a $2.5 million contract. We spent 3 months and it was an awesome contract. And now they have wireless, right? And I'll look at them and go, yeah, but what's the value? All you told me was what you do. How do you differentiate and actually communicate value? How do you take that contract and use it to convince another organization to contract with you? And so I ask them, I go, well, how many buildings? Oh, they go, oh, there were 12 buildings. Okay. How many patients go through there? And they go, what? Why? Because the value of your wireless network doesn't just support the Mercy employees, it also enables the capability for patients and their families. 1 million patients a year. How many actual repeaters and access points did you put in? Well, it was 45 repeaters, 225 access points. Well, how fast did you increase the speed of the network? Oh, it was about, well, we don't know. Well, go find out. Ends up being 24%. So so many people, Ron, get contracts. They could be a small contract. It could be a $35,000 contract for construction, for technology, for office supplies, doesn't matter. And all they're focused on is, I got a contract, sell the product or the service and make my money and move on. And the point is, no. Think of that $2.5 million contract with Mercy. 12 buildings, 1 million patients a year supported, 45 repeaters, 225 access points, and we increase the speed of access to the network by 24%. That you have to have quantifiable, qualifiable metrics. And if you're not doing that for all your work, you're not going to accelerate your sales. So those are my three strategies I'll throw in there.
I love it. And I love the fact that you're actually helping people try to see what's going on. You know, my wife has an uncle who's in the landscaping business in Florida, and we went down and visited him one year, and he's telling us how his employees will trim the lawn, and then when they're done, they'll walk across the street to see what kind of job they did. And my wife was like, well, why are they walking across the street? And he said, well, because when they're standing on the lawn, they don't have a good perspective of what it really looks like. And I think a lot of business owners, we're too close to our businesses. We're standing on our lawns. And so someone like you can help us get on the other side of the street and really see what's going on, because that's a great example, working with the hospitals, because, you know, that business owner is thinking about the next sale. They're not thinking about, showcasing the work that they did to get the next sale. They're on to the next sale, and they feel like they did their job and now they're on to the next sale. So I think that's great that companies would go to you to kind of help them get across the street and kind of really see the big picture.
Ron, I'm stealing that analogy.
Sure. Yeah.
Standing on the lawn. I love it. That is a great analogy. And you're absolutely right. You know, it's seeing the forest through the trees. That's what you just referred to. That business owners, first of all, most small business owners don't work on their business, they work in their business, right? And so you win a contract, you have the cash flow, you move on, but you never step back to capture what value you actually provided. And what companies need to learn is that if you do that, you will double, triple your revenue, because you're more able to communicate the value of what your products or services provide. So absolutely love the analogy.
So you wrote this best-selling book, An Insider's Guide to Winning Government Contracts. So I'm thinking from the comments you've made with me today that just because you're a minority-owned business doesn't mean you're going to get a government contract.
Yeah, you know, the reality is whether you're certified minority or woman or veteran or any of them, whether you have a GSA schedule, the reality is 50% of companies that go down this road fail. Now, they don't fail because they don't have really, really strong products and services. They fail because they don't have the right tactics and strategies, and they don't apply what they've learned. You can go to any of the dozen nonprofits, you can hire coaches, consultants. I mean, I'm a coach, but you can hire anybody and they'll all say, well, you got to do this and this and this. But the reality is you're not going to win anything unless you know how to apply what you're learning. And so there is no low-hanging fruit. Here's a better example. Let's say you're woman-owned. There's an opportunity, commercial, federal, doesn't matter. And it's being set aside for woman-owned small companies. You bid with 26 other woman-owned small businesses. Do you really think your certification is going to win you that contract? No. It just balances you. You're never going to win a contract because you're certified something. It doesn't matter whether state, local, federal has mandatory percentages. Your certification simply balances you in the market and opens doors. But your ability to communicate the value of your products and services is what will win the contract.
I love that. That is great advice. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, how can we learn more about you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So two things. One, resources and contacts. Excuse me. For resources, if you like to listen, if you are a person that learns by hearing versus seeing, we have one of the nation's top podcasts called Game Changers for Government Contractors. You'll find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever. Book, Insider's Guide to Winning Government Contracts. It is an all-time #1 bestseller for the government space on Amazon. Find it there. And then if you want to contact me, first and foremost, connect with me on LinkedIn. And then if you want to call, phone number is toll free 888-384-3451, or just go to rsmfederal.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, sir. And we will wish you the best, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next live expo we have as well.
Sounds good, Ron. Thank you much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.